Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Susan Aitkin is the leader of the SNP Council of Glasgow, and she is rather, stupid, let's put it that way. She seems to think that she can pull the wool over people's eyes by making outrageous claims about the rats. She's saying that there aren't any more rats, it's just that people are seeing the ones that are there for the first time. She's saying that they're more visible. If they're more visible, Susan, it's because they've stopped coming out of the sewers because the sewers are full. Trust me, if you see rats on the street, there's a lot of rats. Now, of course, a lot of them will be the ones that are leaving the sinking ship. It'll be the ones, the SNP MPs that are leaving Parliament and resigning from the SNP. There are a lot of rats leaving that particular ship. But these are actually the real rats, the big furry ones that scurry around and make cities look like dirty, filthy shitholes. And the fact that there's an awful lot of them in Glasgow goes to show exactly what the SNP have done for that fine city. But we'll take a look at this story and we'll have a look at the biggest rat of them all, Susan Aitkin. Here goes. So deluded Susan Aitkin claims there's been no rise in rat numbers in Glasgow, they're just more visible. This is quite clearly spin. This is quite clearly basically just lying to people to try and hide and mitigate the truth. The truth is that the SNP have failed so badly in looking after the city that the rat population has exploded. And of course with that you have all sorts of health issues. After all, it's how the Black Death basically got around. Now, I'm not for 1 minute saying that there's going to be an outbreak of the plague, but they do carry other diseases, which, and they're apart from the disease they carry, they're also indicative of a larger hygiene problem in the city. But they like to eat a lot. You know, when people cast away waste food in the street that isn't cleaned up in time and things like that, that's what helps surge these numbers. And of course, one can't help but wonder if a lot of that food that's kind of sort of dumped and abandoned would have come from what she's left, uneaten. Although I suspect that'd be very little. In fact, would be left uneaten. But that's a different matter. The SNP leader of Glasgow City Council was blasted after she blamed the increase in rat reports to the council on the rodents becoming more visible due to the number of new developments being built. No, love, that's not what it is. If you're seeing a lot more rats, it's because there's a lot more rats. The SNP leader of Glasgow City Council has denied evidence of an explosion of rat numbers in the city, instead claiming the rodents are just becoming more visible. It's bullshit, isn't it? Absolutely, we all know. Susan Atkins was called deluded after she defended the city in the face of criticism for being in a state during the World Cycling Championships. Now, I've got a video coming up about that, where the Scot Nats are all crying and go, oh, look, we paid lots and lots of money and we're destroying the atmosphere by having all these cyclists here and nobody's watching. They're trying to invent reasons to feel bad about themselves, I think. But I'll cover that video later. Anyway, Scottish Labour MSP Paul Sweeney was critical of the mess in the city, as he called it dirty and dilapidated, which of course it is. He said residents feel as though they are living through managed decline. He told the BBC, you need to be delusional not to recognise the challenges here. It is obvious to anyone who's lived in Glasgow for an extended period of time that the city has seen better days. Well, this is what happens when you have years of the SNP running a city. Nothing gets done because they've always got to push the independence thing above all else. And rat numbers are indicative of so many problems, and it is one of those basic tenets that where there are rats, for every rat you see, there are 10 you don't see. It's basically the rule. And rat problem is a major problem. And it just goes to show that they're not cleaning the city. If you have clean streets, you have fewer rats. It is a function. One of the growing issues in the city is the rat problem, with council figures showing that rodent reports soared from 7,500 in 2021 to over 10 or nearly 10,500 last year. And that's just the reports, you know. However, Miss Aitkin claimed that there was not more rats, but they'd changed their behaviour and become more visible. And that is absolute bullshit. And she probably knows it. She also denied it was a public health issue because her officials were responding to the problem. Of course it's a public health issue. If you're seeing rats, it's a public health issue. Whether anyone's dealing with it or not is beside the point. It is an issue. Unions have criticised the SNP administration for a lack of funding and support to help deal with the cleanliness problems throughout Glasgow. You need to clear the streets daily. Absolutely daily. You need to be sending out, especially in the city centre, your wagons every night, clearing the streets every night. Miss Aitkin admitted that they faced challenges on this, but vowed to improve the situation. She said she did not agree with claims that the rising number of the rats in the city was a public health crisis, because apparently she's an epidemiologist. The council leader said, "We know all cities have been dealing with issues around more of the visibility of rats since the pandemic." All cities? Citation, please. Have you got proof of that? Or is it just another wild claim? And it said it's something we have in common with all cities. We have a pest control department, which I suspect is massively underfunded. She's saying it's superb. Well, I'm sure the people there are working very hard, but they don't have the resources, do they? And we strongly encourage residents to report in where they do have a sighting. If they all did that, your phones would be ringing off the hook, love. We have no evidence at all that there is more infestation in the city. Yes, you do. The very fact that the number of sightings has gone up is evidence. Do you not understand how words work? Stupid woman. What we do have evidence of is that there's greater visibility and that rats have changed their behaviour. You don't have evidence that rats have changed their behaviour. You are saying that, but it just plainly isn't true. How do you know the rats have changed? Are you an expert now in mouse behaviour and rat behaviour? Are you some kind of mucologist? What is it with mice? Mucos? Anyway. That is why rats are a successful species. They are very clever and very adaptable. Well, you're not very clever and very adaptable, are you, if you still think this sort of rubbish? Miss Aitkin blamed the fact that Glasgow has more vacant and derelict land than any other UK city on why rats have been scurrying about, because when development happens they get disturbed and become more visible. Bullshit. She said, it's only a public health problem if we don't respond to it, and we do respond to it. You just don't respond to it enough. You haven't got the resources to respond to it. Annie Wells, Tory MSP for Glasgow, labelled these comments deluded. She said Glasgow had over 10,000 reports of rats last year, making it one of the most rat-infested cities in the UK. London, you're never more than 3 feet from a rat on average. If Susan Aitkin really wanted to deliver for Glasgow residents, she'd be demanding her SNP bosses in Holyrood give Glasgow the resources to tackle the problem once and for all. Instead, she's desperately trying to downplay the issue and dodge responsibility. You cannot get rid of rats. You can cull their numbers, but you will never, ever get rid of rats. Glasgow's pest control department had to deal with 31% rise in call-outs about rats and mice last year. There were 10,323 residential infestations. That's residential. That's not the ones you're seeing on the street or the ones that are scurrying around in factories. Just residential. And she says that they're not increasing their numbers. Bullshit. Absolutely. The total was the 5th highest across the whole of the UK, according to figures compiled by insurance company Direct Line. And a senior public health official, Dr. Amelia Crichton, accepted that there had been an explosion of vermin in the city and warned that conventional pest control may be unable to contain the scale of the problem in future. Yeah, I mean, I've got a little air rifle. Where I live, you get the field rats. They're not the city rats, town rats or anything. That's sewer rats. They're just little brown field rats, not particularly big or anything. But you get them in the garden, like to sit out the window, take them out, and end of rat. But in Glasgow, God, you couldn't. You'd need a bloody machine gun, wouldn't you? Anyway, I shall round off there and come up. It is just so typical of the SNP that they cannot tell the truth. They cannot admit that they've got something wrong. And they're doing everything else other than saying what the problem is. And the problem, of course, is the rats, not on the street, but the ones sitting in the chairs in the council chamber, failing to do their job, failing to address the real problems, and always looking for, let's push independence, let's do this, let's look virtuous. Not, let's sort out problems that affect people. It's no wonder the city is falling apart. Anyway, I shall finish there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, the biggest rat of all is Susan Aitkin. Bye.